Hey, in the comments, tell us who you think the Democratic nominee is going to be. We'd love to see if you're right. And ask us
Like
any
and
questions you want
subscribe.
to.
Yeah. Like and subscribe
Like
and
and
turn on that
subscribe,
yeah.
yo.
Cloud.
Thank God. We're finally live.
Live, yes. Fuck yeah. So like
A live?
A live. What do you guys want to talk about today? Well, I guess let's do a quick brief talk about what are we talking about? Or we can just fucking wing it. I kind of like the idea of I mean we can talk moon as an Aquarius.
Some crazy stuff. I mean, well, we're gonna talk about the stars, and then and then there's also like the crazy like political shit that's happened this week of someone tried to Trump Pierce's ear or
Oh shit.
Pierce Trump's ear.
Yeah.
And
Not staying in.
and people are saying that like he just wanted to get like his ear pierced just to be cool because everybody would think he's a hero, and
Yeah.
I'm just like whatever.
Yeah, that's how Republicans pierce
and
themselves.
then the other guy was just like, whoa, you know what, that earring is just too cool, I don't think I can hold up. And and now we're just in this place where like people are like, you know what, who is going to wear the earrings now? Who's going to wear the earrings and sit in the big office? And
she's licking your neck.
And
I'm sorry, I'm distracted.
Explosions, my ears are ringing. So
yeah. I'm sorry, I'm so distracted by
like I get it.
She's licking his neck. It's so sweet.
Just mute us and full screen on the dog. Just like zoom in past Mike's face. Like tilt the camera down on the dog. We just want to see the dog. This is just gonna be a dog cast.
No. Dog cast into like million views. There you go. Oh my God. Oh my God.
All right. So what's the dog's name? Because now we're talking about dogs, right?
This is Lily. Hey, Lily. How are you?
Lily. Over here, Lily.
Say hi.
Oh.
Okay, you should get back down though.
Okay. There we go. We have our intro for Lily. No, Troy, yeah, I don't know. It was pretty chill week. Not much happened in the world. Nothing really crazy. It's pretty simple. Nothing to talk about really with like politics or current events. So yeah, we can just skip over all that and but yeah. What you eating?
Nothing even happened today. I mean, today was also a slow news day.
Yeah. Nobody dropped out. Nothing happened.
No, nothing.
Well, I mean, according to Biden, I mean, a lot of people are suspecting that like this is like a Soviet style thing, because like in a lot of Soviet countries, they would be like, "Hey, you're the big premier. Like it's your time to go on vacation." They'd schedule their vacation or whatever, and then they find out when they're on vacation that they just resigned. So,
well, I mean, I don't think he runs his own Twitter account, so I'm pretty sure that somebody could just be like, yeah, you're resigning, guy. And we're just going to put this thing up. And because I don't think he's given a speech about it yet, has he? That anybody has seen?
No,
I don't think he has.
I haven't seen a video of it,
Yeah. I think that's something that you'd say out loud, but maybe it was past 8. I don't know. It could have been past his bedtime. I'm not quite sure how it goes.
Yeah.
In Biden world.
Yeah. Hard to say. But, the interesting thing about speculation is just like, you just see what happens.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, he doesn't run his own campaign, so I doubt. Yeah, I agree. He didn't fucking. I bet he didn't make that post. It's all happening behind the scenes. He has COVID, and they're just gonna push him out. I mean, he's old enough that he can't really do anything. What's he gonna do? Yeah, he can't do shit.
Well, it's just
he
like
could yell at a cloud.
Perfect.
Well, they might have forced his hand, because at this point, it's just like, what does he do? If he says, "Oh, I'm actually still in the race," all that makes him do is look way less powerful. Like he doesn't even have control of his own administration. So I don't know. Yeah. It's just like Democrats just right now are in a position where all they can do is lose support right now. as far as I can tell, you know. And I don't know. I'm very interested in people, not politics. So it's like it's like politics is interesting because like politicians, well, 90% of them are just complete degenerates, but you're talking the people who vote for them. Well, they just have different, ways that they have been exposed to different levels of information, and so then you're starting to see, well, how many people are making their decisions off this way or this way, so that's what I think is most interesting about it. So right now it's like, what are the people going to do right now as they're responding to this information, because the right now is basically just being like, okay, well, we feel like we're going to win anyway, but who's our enemy? Who are we fighting against? And then right now it's like it's the complete opposite with the left, is that they're like, oh wait, we know who our enemy is. He's the worst enemy ever. He's an existential crisis to our lives and everybody's lives, is how they think about it.
Who, Bobby
And
Kennedy?
yeah, him too.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I know you're talking about Trump.
and
Yeah.
then they have nobody to fight their battles for them, because that's part of their ideology is that they're mob ruled right now, so they actually, like, they have been anti-leader, and part of their ideology and their movement over the last like 10 years is basically like that leadership qualities are kind of antithetical to the current like ideology that's been going on the left.
The party
Because,
above all else, kind of that kind of
well,
style. You mean?
well, yeah, well, but it's vote blue no matter who, but also the idea of, it's the classic the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one kind of idea. It's a standard socialist thing where it's just like, but it's the same thing of looking at things in terms of statistics or like economics, where you're just like, okay, well, the economy is doing well. Well, okay, the economy could be doing well at scale, but that doesn't mean that it's actually doing well on an individual basis. It's like you can see the numbers running around, but like, is it actually livable for the people who are, in different economic strata?
Well, yeah, I don't think the economy is doing well, but I guess that's the talking point. But I mean, fuck, like things are,
Well, it's
yeah.
it's the last 4 years has been a lot of wealth consolidation. So when you put your meter up by all, oh, look at all this money is moving around. Well, it's moving and consolidating. So then they're
Yeah.
like, well, look, these stock firms are doing best they've ever been. Yeah, because they're predatory lenders. They like there's a whole bunch of things in our economy that specifically function off of being like taking advantage of other companies and hostile takeovers and mergers, because it's like they can't actually create anything themselves, so all they do is they wheel and deal, and then they take and then they resell it, because they don't actually have any creative potential or cooperative potential to create more value. They just take value and sell it.
Vampires, man. All the freaking vampires.
No.
Or
Very
parasites, as
sad.
my online friend Ian calls them all the time.
Oh,
I do want to say like two things about the astrology of like the two big political events that happened since we last talked.
Yeah.
So
hey,
first, the Trump attempted assassination happened when Mars and Uranus were and Algol were all conjunct on his midheaven, squaring his Mars. Plenty of astrologers on Twitter talked about that being a very dangerous time for him. I had been hearing about it in my groups. It had been coming up, So that is really interesting that that timing was so perfect. The other thing that happened is Biden basically got out right after the full moon at the 29th degree of Capricorn, which is the last degree of Capricorn, and it was conjunct Pluto at the time. And Capricorn, it rules the elderly, which is kind of interesting, and it also rules like big power plays. And yes, it's very cool. It rules big power plays, and I just keep seeing your screen moving, Troy. Are you
Sorry, I
trying to just
kicked
find
my
the perfect
camera.
spot?
No, I
Oh, you're trying.
accidentally kicked. It was in the perfect spot, and then I kicked it.
Oh, okay. But anyway, yeah,
I'm
the
just moving the world.
resignation happened right after the 29th degree full moon in Capricorn, and I thought that was pretty interesting too. And there were people that were predicting that too. So there's an interesting thing that's happening on X, Twitter/Twitter, where people are, wait a minute, these astro bitches are right. You know, like it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, which has been interesting. So there's people that are very anti that are suddenly being like, hmm. And
Well,
most of the rationalists are like, well, broken clock is right twice a day, blah, blah, blah. They're still stupid, you know? But, you know, some of them are like, wait a minute, maybe this isn't all bullshit. And that feels kind of good. It feels like a cultural win
well,
in some ways.
I don't want to
That's
get
cool.
conspiratorial, but just to
Do it.
introduce the possibility, um, uh, well, everything around this thing is making it look like it was set up. And obviously not by Trump, because if it was set up by Trump, wouldn't he have had his own fucking detail there? His own detail that had been serving with him for many, many years and was loyal to him. No, they were on vacation. So it's like if he was going to stage something, wouldn't he have his own people there, not random hires who are obviously incompetent? Um, so it's just like that narrative falls apart real quick. The other narrative that doesn't fall apart is all the suspect evidence adding up to it being something. So but part of the thing is why I'm bringing this up in this way is that if it's orchestrated by some darker, and I say darker in the sense of both unknown and then also in the sense that like a lot of these groups who are occult and want to control people have actually like spiritual beliefs too. So they're actually going to go do certain things on specific days because of those astrological alignments.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's a bit of column A and column B.
Well,
So 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 it's like the people on certain levels are going to orchestrate on those days because they want to capitalize and like they want an event to happen. So then they're going to go look at the astrology and say, oh, it's more likely to happen on this day. So then they'll actually plan it on that day to help correspond with their events and such like
yes.
that. And also, yeah, for other energetic purposes but it ultimately comes down to that they want control, and it's all basic because all psychology is the same. It's basically just consciousness. So and they just want to control the way that consciousness flows, which
Yeah.
controls people.
Well,
Word.
they failed. So there's that. I mean, it's interesting because obviously it has helped Trump. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
And all he did was this:
yeah. I mean,
as the bullet
call it,
was fired.
yeah, call it what you want, but there's something to that, man. I don't know. I'm not saying like divine intervention because that's of course what people are saying, but like
Well,
it's fucking or call it just luck, crazy luck. I mean, Jupiter and
Yes.
Gemini is
he
gonna have his
dodged a
Jupiter
bullet.
return. Yeah.
You can call it whatever it is, but like if he didn't do this, like have you seen there's somebody took like 4 or 5 different camera angles and did a 3D rendering of his
Yeah.
head and correspondence, and it's like you can watch it and like the path is there, and it's just like he's sitting here and like it's going like right through his head, and then just at the last minute,
Yeah.
and it's it's fucking wild. And
Yeah.
I can't even understand the level of chaos that was averted from that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now there's no, because that would have been before the vice president was picked. So a lot of people were saying that that was their attempt to try to get Nikki Haley back in. Um, but I don't know. It's at this point where it's just like I was watching Tim Cass the other day, and they were having a good discussion and of different voices, and they were like, "Oh, well, the deep state kind of people like to do this," and then one of the rebuttals was, "Well, if they do and they are, and that's their plan, well, they're doing a pretty shitty job of it, or they're working another angle, which I can't see. But it seems that everything they're wheeling out over the last couple of years just keeps failing. And so that's what I'm most excited about right now, is that all of their plays seem to be getting more and more obvious. And I would love for us to get to a place where we could actually just like move past these old archaic power structures that basically rely on our ignorance and us believing their lies and being gaslit by them. So essentially right now it's just like, hey, do do you believe in the gaslighting? Do you think gaslighting is acceptable? Well, that's a pretty red flag that you're like, you're stuck in your ideology and, you know, you're not really worth interacting with on a general level. You know, it's like you can do what you can, find your common ground, but it's just like they're always going to be disingenuous.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to be genuine until until they're basically like, when you're stuck in that cult like mentality, you have to, your worldview and your whole approach to reality essentially has to fail for you before you're going to attempt another, until you're going to try something else. And that's just kind of like, I've seen it so many times and I've heard it from so many experts in different ways that it's just like, yeah, so it's like you can't really deprogram people until like, if their cult's working for them, it's working for them. You know, if it gives them enough of their basic needs met and that strategy is working for them, well, then they're going to keep doing it because that's how we're fundamentally biologically, psychologically wired. You know, and that's what the whole like MK Ultra and all this other stuff is it's basically, how do we hijack the human like nervous system to be able to make it predictable so we can control people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
I think a lot of people are adapting out of that right now, though. I mean, it seems like the good news about like an event like that is it creates a lot of cognitive dissonance. There was tons of cognitive dissonance in effect online over the last 3 months, I'd say, you know, but it's been heating up the last couple weeks, and it's kind of at fever pitch right now, where people are realizing that maybe their map of reality no longer corresponds to how reality actually is. And that's the joy and beauty of cognitive dissonance. As long as people don't double down and go further into delusion, they can really break out, you know, and become a little bit better people and better understanding of the world. That's cool. And I feel like that's happening with a lot of people right now. Of course, there are plenty of people. I'm sure you saw lots of them at Oregon Country Fair. There are plenty of people that are just going to double down and go into like, it's not just Hitler, it's Mecha Hitler now, you know, or whatever, you know, it's going to be we're not just against Hitler, it's actually worse than Hitler. It's going to be like Mecha Hitler, you know, like the Hitler in Wolfenstein 5 or whatever, you know, the one that was like a robot, you know, built with his brain. I feel like that might be the direction that they're going, but we'll see.
Well,
I don't think it's going to work as well anymore, because I think that honestly getting shot in the air humanizes people a little bit more, makes them seem more human. It's going to be harder to just be like the other side is an absolute villain and is a coward. They really can't call him a coward anymore. And in fact, instead of calling him Hitler, they're being pushed to like not even to like wish him well, you know? It's very interesting how the narrative has shifted in a lot of places.
well, at least from the people side of things, what I've been noticing is you're getting a general split. Because see, when you pressure like this essentially forces people to make a decision about the world and themselves. And elections and politics are really interesting in that way, to how they affect people on an individual level. And so right now, people have to basically be, do I think Trump is a bad enough person that I actually believe he died and I don't care what the fuck people say? Fuck you all. He's a bad person. I believe he should have died. And then there's the other side, which is, oh, this is my line. I still think he's a bad person, but this is making me realize that I've gone too far. So they're starting to rationalize where their edge is. because they're like, well, no, political violence isn't right, but he's still a rapist, whatever, and all this other stuff that people say. And it was just, and so it's like people right now are basically being forced to deal with this situation. And so the people who think that he's really bad and that he should have died essentially. Oh, wait. And then I guess there is the third camp, which is the Cope camp, where Trump set it up himself. But that narrative, like
Blue and
that
on.
narrative is just very delusional. And then,
Mhm.
and so it's just like, and also wishing him death is very delusional too on a different level. So it's interesting to see the people who are like, oh, wait, you know what? Violence isn't the solution. And it's usually, from my experience, because they've experienced violence in their own lives to some degree, that they realize that violence is not the solution. Because I grew up doing martial arts and I've been in a lot of sparring matches and such like that. Not very many fights, because I consider every fight I don't get in is a fight I win. And that's what like real martial artists are like. And so it's like when you actually understand what violence is and like how like people are built differently, and then also just random stuff happens that like there's been dozens and dozens and dozens of stories of people getting into a fight or something like this, and it's literally they punched the guy once, he fell over, hit his head, and died. You know? And it's just like, and it's just like, so it's like you have to be careful with violence. You know, like it's it's careful. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Or I was just watching karate uh excuse me, watching
Karate
the new
Kid?
season of Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Wait,
And
there's a
he's
new season?
My
it
wife's
just
watching that right now.
yeah,
Oh shit.
it just got dropped. Well, the first half of the season apparently, but it's the
Ooh.
last season. Anyway, it's
Okay.
good so far. But it's also ridiculous. I love that show.
It
Uh,
it's
but
corny.
but
Yeah.
but they came up to one of their guys who used to be their bully, and it was like, oh, and he's like, hey, are we okay now? And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. Play karate games, get karate prizes. And I was like, yep,
Corny, but I love that show. Yeah.
it's true though.
I know, I
What
know.
if you're
I
good?
have something to
No, but
interject
like,
really quick.
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
go ahead. I'm just gonna
thank you.
repeat myself.
I know.
But
Well,
in a different way.
I have a bone to pick with people that say, okay, you can see a lot of people on TV saying political violence has no place in America, which, you know, it sounds good, but political violence literally created America. That is like why we exist, is because of political violence. So it does have a place in America. We could say
Be
it
more
doesn't have a
specific.
place in America right now, but political violence definitely does have a place in our history. It is our creation came from it. We had a war to get our independence. We had a civil war between each other to resolve issues at one point. So it has a part in America's history. I hope, honestly, that we don't get into it anytime really soon, because I don't think it'll benefit anybody. But it's just like a pet peeve when you hear people saying political violence has no place in America because America's based on it.
Yeah.
Well, that's more of an affirmation of saying, no, this is what we want to hold our standard to, and not to say that it's never happened. I don't think that's I think it's more of I don't think that's an absolution or a whitewashing of history when people say that. But I get your point.
Oh. Yeah. Well, yeah.
You've been quiet. Nick, say something.
I have been quite. I'm trying to, let Troy talk more and hold back. I know I tend to overtalk. I mean, my only thoughts are going back to the whole idea of like predicting, predicting Trump's assassination based on the planets involved, and then to his Mars, and then as well as what Troy said, which is like, you can take advantage of that. Like, obviously, if you know that, so like basically what we're saying is it Uranus square Mars or Mars square not Mars, or is it Uranus and Mars involved?
Uranus and Mars conjunct
Yeah.
on his midheaven in his natal chart, square his natal Mars.
Okay.
So it was conjunct in Taurus, square his natal Mars in Leo.
Yeah,
and it was also connected with Algol, which is a fixed star that's related to decapitation.
yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
how
which
does
is
Al
crazy.
Gore? Wait, the climate change Al Gore guy? Why is he
Al
conjunct with
Gore.
this?
Yeah, it was him. He
He's
was
a
the shooter
star,
all
didn't you
along.
know?
Yeah. No, but
I mean, is this the inconvenient truth you're trying to bring up?
yeah, but
It's very inconvenient. Yes.
Mars conjunct Uranus does indicate, like say someone has it in their natal chart or they have a transit with that happening, that does indicate either accidents or violence of some kind, correct? Like that's
Yes.
kind of like
sudden,
it does.
sudden, forceful, or violent events is generally
Okay.
And
Yeah.
with Algol, with it being on Algol too, it was like sudden, forceful events that resemble decapitation in some way, right? So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
it's interesting.
Oh yeah.
And that would have been kind of a decapitation, but luckily he turned his head. I think that saved us a lot of looking at that teleprompter, saved us a lot of trouble in this country. It'd be a totally different country right now. We probably wouldn't be doing the podcast.
Well,
I mean, we probably still would be. But
he was
It'd be a
he was
different
looking at a
conversation.
chart that was made by the Border Patrol about border crossings over the last like 20 years.
yes.
So he was just saying. So he said like in his speech or something else, he's like, literally the immigration crisis saved my life. Literally, this chart saved my life. And he brought it up. He's like, look at this chart. It's a beautiful chart. I didn't get a chance to look at it real quick because I just turned my head to look at it and it saved my life.
Yeah.
He's gonna love that chart forever. He's probably gonna get it framed and put it in his house.
Oh, he probably is. I mean, well, and yeah. Well, then you have and then one thing that's been bugging me is that like there's a lot of things that Trump people do that can be considered part of a cult. But the whole like putting the patch on the ear thing, like that doesn't actually line up with cult-like behavior. Like they could have done it because they were part of a cult, but like that act is like an act of admiration. It's an act of mimicry. I think it's dumb and I think it's like childlike, but like it's like I prepared some pictures, but it's just like can I share my screen?
Yeah, I'll accept it. Go ahead.
All right.
There we go.
So
oh wow. Oh fuck. Okay. Oh.
Nice. Mullets are having their moment.
So
I don't know how this relates, but it's cool.
So this kid who got a haircut because he thought that these rugby players were cool. It's a big like mullets have been coming back in Australia, and it's like
Close your porn folders really quick so nobody can see them.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm looking. Damn, he doesn't have any. Wait. No.
So I mean, like, so see here's the kid. It's a low resolution picture, but like
it's his hero. Admiration.
It's admiration. It's like here's another kid getting a mullet. So are these people in a cult?
Well,
nobody told them to do that. It's like are these people in a cult? Yeah, probably actually. But again, nobody told them to do that. It does get them social acceptance. There are certain things that are herd-like mentality, but herd-like mentality and groupthink is not the same thing as cult mentality. Because by definition, it's just okay. And then where is it? Is this a cult? Is this a cult?
Yes.
Yeah. I would say that's it might not be a cult, but it's propaganda at the very least.
Well, but no, this is the difference is why I'm bringing this up. Sad to see what happened to Colbert. I loved him years ago, but the difference is this is done in a shaming way. This is done in a way that I know it's right, and this is done in a performative way. Like this is not done in admiration of the vax. This is done well. It is to a little bit, but
dude,
it's also
look at the guy on the left
over the top. It's like it's exaggerated admiration. it's which I get, like that is also goes in with Colbert's style, that he is that weird, silly one-upsmanship kind of thing, and that's always been his thing. But it's just like here's a I found this and it's
Damn,
like,
you came prepared, Troy. I'm digging this.
well, first times.
Okay.
So it's just
First.
like, so okay, so I do have to say the ear thing is stupid. Um, but just think about it this way: as I read through this list, does it correspond with any of these things? Promotes dependence and obedience, modify behavior with rewards and punishments, dictates where and whom you live with, restrict or control sexuality, control clothing or hairstyle. Nobody's controlling their hairstyle, or that was just a thing that people just did. Like, I mean, people might have said, "Oh yeah, let's do this" or whatever, but that was like, it's just a different psychology. Anyway, I mean, it's
Mhm.
like you could go through this whole list, but it's just like, it's not cult-like behavior. It's groupthink. It could be stupid and juvenile, and you could tease it, but like thinking it's cult-like just means that you don't understand cult behavior of how it's gaslighting your reality to essentially, like being like, hey, I don't have a sense of meaning, so I need this ideology and this way of approaching reality. And then it's not just that, it's like that it's alienating and keeps you isolated. So it's like you can be part of a cult and not have a cult leader, because that's exactly what's going on the left, you know and you could easily say that some people on the right are in a cult with Trump because he is a cult leader, in a certain sense. But,
Is he?
you know, I mean, for some, he is, but
I mean,
Yeah,
you
I
okay.
would
could
say,
say he's a cult of personality, but I don't
Okay,
think
yeah.
he's like directly
well,
organizing his cult to do things except show up to watch him talk. He's kind of like a comedian that goes on the
yeah,
road
just,
and has
Yeah.
his comedy set all set up, and he does a stand up performance for his fans, which could be seen as a cult. Um, but I don't know. I don't see him as a very big cult leader. Um, and I don't think he's actively trying to create a cult either.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But here's where I would say is like the Trump cultists, a lot of them were the QAnon people. And
Yeah.
we still don't know who Q was, but it was obviously a disinformation campaign to, and someone who's studied conspiracy theories, like on and off for like 15, 20 years. It was just like interesting watching these people just being like, do you know there's such thing as a deep state? And I'm just like, oh, honey, you just heard about these ideas for the first time this year? Oh, okay. And it's just like talking to like brand new people, just understanding that like maybe the world isn't exactly how everybody says it is. Maybe people are lying to you.
No,
And it's just
and
like,
You
yes,
could
yes, they are. Yes, they
we
are.
we
you
do
And
know
could
who
see.
Q is, though. We do know who Q is. Hold
oh,
on.
really?
Yeah.
I don't think we actually do we?
Oh yeah.
I don't
It's
think it's
this
been
guy, right?
proven.
It's this guy. This is a joke.
Oh, I thought that
Have
was
you,
I thought that was
yes.
John Kennedy Jr. or something.
Exactly. Okay. Okay. Good. It's a joke. It's a joke. Okay.
Um, yeah.
Oh
One of the
yeah.
things that you could see about Q, though, so say it was like a defense intelligence agency operation, say, because that's, I think, what's most likely. It
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
could be to, even if it kind of turns out to be, even if it turned out to be bullshit, it could be like getting boomers to like think about bigger ideas than just what they typically think of. It could have been to actually open people up to some of the truths, because I think that there are aspects of Q that were dropping truth bombs or whatever, that people hadn't really thought about. And then they were going down kind of rabbit holes on their own. It wasn't just in Q. They were like looking up all these connections between like BlackRock and like different countries and like different people in the government and like what their histories were. So you had a bunch of people like actually kind of doing their own research to try to connect the dots. And that might have been the whole point of it. Not that it was all true, but to get
Distract
people to start like thinking more critically about the way power works in this country and who really holds it.
Yeah.
I I I I slightly disagree because the thing is, I think things have happened in their lives where they start to realize, oh wait, I've not been told the truth. So then they start to look for another answer. And then once they start to look for those deeper answers, this is one of those things that like they have to be like, oh, you're so right. And then they ante them in. Because they have to bait the hook. And then, but the key thing is that they'll be like, oh, you know, blah 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 blah, Kennedy assassination or this thing, and then they'll be like, oh, don't you know about the Smith-Mundt Act and all these other things, and they'll sprinkle these things in, and then they'll be like, go ahead and research them, and then
Yep.
people get to go off, and most of the time they're giving people outdated information that most people who know this stuff already know this stuff,
But
you know.
okay,
And so it's
I
just
go
it
next.
serves as a way to keep people in this loop, and then once they get synced in, then all they have to do is say a couple things like being like, oh well, you know what, i know it I know it's been a year since the election, but Trump has been the secret president for a year. And it's just like, I was like, holy shit, these people are delusional. They literally thought that Trump was actually president and that Biden was just a farce and that Trump was actually running the country from a secret place, but the media was lying to everybody. And like, that's how bad you
Well,
got by
that's
the
not
end.
the media lying to everybody is not that far beyond belief, right? I mean,
Well, but
but
lying
about
just
that, yeah.
but about that, that's just like there's a difference between gaslighting and there's a difference between like being like, what? There's no elephant in this room. Is there just fucking like tearing down walls? It's just like,
Um, but okay, but with the Q thing, like just like you were saying, yeah, the people in the know who have been aware of all the shit throughout the years, yeah, they were like, oh, this is just nothing new. But to make Mike's point, a lot of normies weren't aware of this stuff at all, and like even like boomers, as Mike was saying. And so there is a value to just saying like, well, look at all this weird shit that you maybe you're not aware of. Again, I'm not like taking it to the extreme of like what you were talking about, how like Trump is still president even though he's not, but like the idea of just like, you know, look deeper into things. And it coincided with our Pluto return when Q came out. It coincided with the Orcus return in America's chart, and like both of those have to do with that. Like, and I think there's some value to getting people to wake up. And I mean, you can take it from any angle, but like that is one of the angles. And of course, people took it and ran with it and like believe all sorts of stuff, like we were joking about with that guy being JFK Jr. But like there is, I mean, it's not, I mean, even if it was a psyop, like Operation Trust, that's what people try to relate it to from like the Soviet Union. But like there's still a value in having people wake up or start researching things that maybe they weren't aware of. Like, you know, even like people like were like, oh, like 9/11 was an inside job. What? Or like, you know, JFK was not just killed by a lone gunman. Like these basic things that, yeah, all of us are like, yeah, obviously. But there's a lot of people who don't even think about that stuff. And maybe a lot of people at least started to question stuff, which I think is maybe if there's any value to it, that was probably the value. So it's not all bad. And I agree with you. People went fucking ham with it and like kind of made it like this, like almost like this cult like thing or religion or whatever. But like there is a value to being able to just like, you know, like question things, I guess. And if people haven't done that before, then it's at least a start. I mean, obviously, like, because you're not going to get that in other places, like obviously from like the mainstream media or whatever. So I'm not like all in on the Q thing. I just mean like it did get a lot of people, especially weirdly Republicans, who are usually the ones who are more traditional and conservative and maybe believe the narrative more, to start questioning stuff. Because like you think like liberals and progressives would be the ones who are like more like, you know, like, oh, the story is a lie and like trying to think outside the box and all that stuff. But it helped a lot of kind of normie Republicans and conservatives like think outside the box, I guess. And it doesn't mean that it's all correct, but it helps
no,
them.
I mean, it's the key thing is that human curiosity is going to keep going until it finds something satiating. And so if they didn't give out some truths and such like that, it wouldn't have been successful. I mean, it's just like I mean, a classic con man. I mean, various con man strategies are being like, hey, I got $1,000. Can you like hold it for me for a while? And so you develop this trust. So you give them $1,000 and then you go, oh, hey, by the way, you know, I need can you loan me $2,000 or something like that? So it's like you just loaned him something. So you just built up false trust. And that's what these psyops do. And I've seen so many over the years, especially with like the UFOs like stuff. Because people will be like, oh, this person is just starting to release all this new information. And it's just like when you actually listen to all the stuff he's saying, it's like, no, it's the same stuff that they've released decades ago. It's just somebody else comes out and says, "Oh, wait, this," and then people get all excited about it. And the thing is just it's the same thing about overstimulating people. And you go squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. People go around like this, and then they fucking forget about that being like, "Oh, wait, what are you doing in my bank account? And what are you doing with my taxes? And where are my jobs going? And all this other stuff that actually affects us on a daily basis." And it's like, obviously, we need to. There's there's various important things, but it's like the economy and actually creating value in our lives is critical. Like if we don't have food, water, shelter, safety, everything else is meaningless.
Okay, but how do you motivate people to do that then? How do you motivate people to look at those things? How, like, what is a better way, in your opinion?
Well,
Because
the thing is people
not
are only
everyone
going to
does.
do it with pain. I mean, and it's like, and obviously you don't create the pain because otherwise you're the problem that they're trying to diagnose. So,
Yeah.
but the thing is it comes back to when people's worldviews are failing them. They're just like, why the fuck is this thing going? Why are gas prices? Whatever their question is, they're like, people come to this breaking point and being like, you know, and it's just like, I mean, like for me, one of my breaking points was, how can the emotional man child of Trump not get us into wars when every other president has got us into wars? It's like, wow, maybe he wasn't trying to get us into wars and everybody else was trying to get us into wars. I mean, if the fucking blowhard who can like barely talk right, and I'm just like, and that was like one of the things where it was just like started to blow my mind with, or I should say, open my mind and realize that like I had a blind spot was that, and but people have their own waking up points, and for some people, I know it was the shot at the ear,
Yeah.
and I mean, I
And for
was
some
watching,
people, it was Q.
well, I was
I'm just
watching
saying.
Bridget, well, I was watching, but hold on, I was watching
I'll be right
Bridget's
back. I need to
fantasy.
go fill this up.
Okay,
I'll be back.
and
Keep going,
so
yeah.
she basically said, she was like, "Oh yeah, I was watching this with my husband, and I watched Trump get up," and she's like, "I just got so aroused," and I'm like, "Am I now a Trump supporter?" And then she's like, I looked over at my husband, and he was fully erect, and and yeah,
Oh
I was
shit.
watching. It came out today.
Ooh.
Reusing her jokes, but I'm giving her credit. Uh,
Oh yeah. Oh,
but
sorry. Yep. I'm getting
it's
dirty texts. There we go. Yep. Yes. No. That is a way to wake people up, and I
but
think yeah.
yeah. So my point is that like people have that thing that wakes them up, but once they wake up, they're going to start pursuing more things. And so when Q is the thing that wakes them up and they're primed to it, it basically gets them
Yeah,
hooked in.
That's
And so
true.
it's developing false trust to basically, and that comes back down into cult mentality. Oh, well, everybody
Yeah.
else isn't telling you the truth. I'm the only one telling you the truth.
That's a part of it, and I agree with that. But I think if we, not everyone. I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate because I think that you're right ultimately because people didn't turn it into a cult
Well, I am
and
right.
they just believed it. But there was a value to like what you were talking about. You have to like people either have to suffer or you have to shock them awake with something that like rocks their framework of reality. And so yes, it turned into this like fucking monster. Like, a lot of religious people got on board with the Q stuff, which they already have like a religious mindset, or like where they believe, they want to believe in like this higher power. They already want to believe in something, and they're religious people are more prone to believing
Belief.
things just on a faith, basically. Yeah, exactly. And like, but
Psychology
it doesn't.
calls it positive delusion.
Sure, and yes, and but it doesn't mean that it's all bad. I guess is what I'm trying to say. I mean, that sounds very like Penn City, but like just there is a value to like waking up these types of people, at least to the things that you were saying we were already aware of. Obviously, it went too far, and now it's died down completely. But it's still got people to start questioning things, at least in one camp. And people who tend to not question things as much and just go along with stuff. And so, I'm not defending it because you're right. It is a cult, and it is kind of this like it got way out of control. But to not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
A few things to say about it too.
But that's just like saying that, like, it's like with karma. Every experience can be a beneficial experience to the human soul and human expansion. That doesn't necessarily mean every bad thing that happened to you is a good thing.
No, but that's not what I'm saying at all. Like, that's a very like general statement. I'm saying specifically waking people up to the negatives of the American government, very specifically. Yeah.
No, I hear what you're saying there, but I'm just saying, like, Q is clearly a psyop. Clearly a psyop that was made to fuck with people. But the mic's to you, Mike.
Thank you. My issue with Q, because I had people in my life that were into it, was constantly reinforcing that patriots were in control and they were gonna fix everything for you, and that was like that is the psyop part of Q, because instead of people acting on their own to like take on these problems, they were saying, "Don't worry, we got it. Yeah. We got it. It's all under our control. We know exactly what's coming next. Don't even worry. Just enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
you're in the know.
It's a movie.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Patriots are in control. And that is like aside. I'm so happy that we're talking about conspiracy on the Aquarius moon. This is very right for the energy.
Yes. Because all Aquariuses are conspiring behind my back.
Yep. They are. They're gonna make you bald. That's what they're trying to do. They're shooting you with fake and gay lasers that will make you bald slowly.
Dude, stop giving it away! God damn it, Mike.
I'm sorry, man. I thought it was time for him to know that that was the plan. That's the plan. Trust the plan.
Yeah.
Trust the plan, Troy. Trust the plan.
That's like, and I didn't even bring that point up, but that's my other point. That's like Q is a clear psyop, is that they get people riled up, they get people all pissed off, and then they have nowhere to direct their anger except they say, you know what, sit back and we got it. And so basically it gets people into this place where it's just like, because that's a thing with conspiracies. They're like, oh, I have this little kernel of truth that gives me more meaning because I understand reality better than everybody else. And that's the thing with like a lot of these ideologies fall into. Christianity, cult-like behaviors, scientism is the same way. Oh, you know what? I've studied the cells and I know the body better than you because I have a microscope.
Trust the science.
Yeah.
I've read the Bible, so therefore I'm closer to God because, like something about that. It's hardened wood. I don't know.
That's trust in God's plan.
Yeah. But
trust the science, trust the plan, trust God.
What you're saying,
sit back and do nothing. Sit back and do nothing. Just be docile and follow your leaders. Just do what you're told.
Sheep are gonna sheep, That's how it goes. I mean, you got to do something with the sheep. You got to direct them somehow because they're going to be sheep no matter what. Like many of us are goats, right? Well, not just Capricorns, but many of us are goats. We're willful. We kind of follow our own inner guide, our own inner star to understand things. And we're stubbornly don't really care about what other people think about us. But many people are sheep and they really, really care about what other people think about them, what other people think, whether they have people that believe in what they believe. They need that in order to keep on with it, So it's like, I don't know, like, I'm not trying to say like people are sheeple because I think that's very dumb, But there are a lot of people that are followers, and they'll follow whatever the dominant energy is or whatever the dominant social currents are.
It's a fundamental aspect of how we've learned to both work in communities and survive on an individual level. And so a lot of what our it's like these are our survival mechanisms, that it's just like, because we're us as humans, we can't survive by ourselves, generally speaking. So we have to be in communities, we have to be in cultures. And the thing is people, the tighter we are with our metaphorical bonds with people, is literally like how we're uh chemically bonded with people too. And so, like, all of this is like a fundamental level of being, that I need to be around other people. I need to be accepted by other people in order to get my needs met. And then, because if you just think about even like, like old West little shanty towns or whatever, it's just like you would need people to do all these different jobs, just because otherwise you're essentially homesteading by yourself. And even people homesteading by themselves still had to go to get supplies and such. It's just like basic needs to make our body met means we need to be in communities. And so part of that is, at times you just shut the fuck up and you go, uh-huh, yeah, you're right. And you just go with what other people say, because we're hardwired to stay alive that way.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of, so it's like groupthink. It makes a lot of sense, because also if you look at the triune brain, is that we have the reptilian brain and then the mammalian brain and then the Homo sapien brain, kind of as that theory talks. And so the mammalian brain very much wants to be in a herd, running around, or in a pack, and so we're very much like, and it's part of the reason I think like why I like to play team sports so much, is because then I'm out in my herd, I'm out in my pack, and we're just running around the field, uh yeah, it's fun.
Oh yeah. Can I bring in a little astrology to what you guys are talking about real quick?
Never, not on this podcast.
Well, yeah. So
This
we're
is
talking
the Astro
about
Bros.
yeah, I mean, what is astrology anyways? So we're talking
I
about,
thought
because
Astro
it's,
was a dog's name, right? Isn't Astro a dog's name?
I think so. It's super, isn't
On
that
the
Superman's dog?
Jetsons, yeah.
Oh, on the Jetsons.
Jetsons?
Oh no, Superman's dog is Crypto. God damn it. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So we're talking about conspiracy theories and secret knowledge and kind of having like, I know more than you. This is just trust the plan. This is the knowledge that I have. And it's an Aquarius moon. So, why is Aquarius associated with, and this is a rhetorical question, so let me continue. Why is Aquarius
Good, 'cause I
associated
don't
with
know
that?
the answer.
Well, why is it about that kind of secret knowledge or conspiracy theories, which are, oh, I know the inner workings of things that no one else is aware of? Well, Aquarius is, based off of the cupbearer. It's Ganymede, I think his name is, from Greek mythology. Well, what is a cupbearer? A cupbearer was a very important role for like, they were the ones who would pour the wine or the drinks for the kings and the very important people, because they would also test that liquid for poison. Because again, when you're like a king, you have people constantly trying to kill you. And so they were also always in the king's inner circle or the leader's inner circles. And so they were given this secret knowledge. They were always around the conversations that like no one else was privy to. And so that's where, I mean, so like people always wonder like, well, how is a cupbearer Aquarius? Like why is that archetype important? Like why is it associated with like this like weird like thing, just someone pouring a jug of water? Well, it's that idea of they're around the important knowledge. And so that's where that comes from, is like the idea of like being privy to secret knowledge, because you're around these people who have that secret knowledge, and it's just built over time, and it's built into these kind of ideas of like conspiracy theories, or people who like the secret societies and all these different things. And so I think that like a lot of people, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of people misunderstand the archetype of Aquarius and like the idea of like why that specific constellation was associated, like what that actually means. And it has to do with that. And like cupbearers in history have always been a very important role. They're always not the forefront. They're not the king, which would be the opposite sign, Leo. They're the ones behind the king, making sure like, and they were always making sure that the king was okay, and like giving, like I said, testing their drinks to make sure they weren't being poisoned. But like they were also, again, privy to that knowledge. And so that's where that comes from, is the idea of like they're and again, it builds into the archetype of Aquarius, which is like they're more aware of these things, for example. But like it's just, I think that's an important thing because we're talking about the idea of like, people who, like with Q, for example, it's like, oh, just we have this secret knowledge and, just trust the plan. And like, and also it then builds this community around it, which is also an Aquarius word. And so it's just interesting, like, I mean, I'm not saying that Q was like an Aquarius thing, but like, because obviously it probably was a psyop, but there is the archetypes involved of Aquarius. And so I just want to bring that up because, this is an astrology show. So.
For sure. I think what's interesting about Aquarius as a sign is before it was co-ruled by Uranus, before Uranus was basically discovered, which was, God, when was that? Like 16 or 1700? I forget the exact year, but I think it was kind of early because it was not too hard to see, even with the
Uranus
low
is easy
res
to
things that they
see.
had before.
It was discovered around the French Revolution, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Around the French Revolution, so it was like 1787 or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, before Uranus was, oh yeah, that totally makes sense because all the revolutionary energy happened right then. Yeah. I did know that at one point.
You're good.
But before that, it was fully ruled by Saturn. So Aquarius was kind of the furthest thought. It created kind of the boundaries for what the accepted thought was. Even elite accepted thought. It was you could only go so far, you could only say so many things, otherwise, they Galileo'd you, or you were put on the stake, you were burned or stabbed or whatever happens to people that say things outside the norm. And I think that's really interesting, and that's a part of Aquarius that's forgotten, is that Saturnian side of it, which is what they were known for up until Uranus kind of became the co-ruler of it. And then they became known more for freedom and that urge to
push
to get beyond,
yeah.
The scientific the revolutions and the scientific expansion kind of, then they became associated with that. And it kind of created this two sides to Aquarius, which I think is really interesting, because there's still that Aquarian like gatekeeping aspect, I think, for knowledge. But there's also Aquarians that fit the other archetype, which is because you got your conservative Aquarians, like there's so many in politics, like Reagan and Cheney, and like I think Nikki Haley is an Aquarius, I'm pretty sure. So it's just tons of like really well-known conservative politicians are Aquarians. And they're sometimes really far thinking, but they still have that structure around it. And then you've got your more loosey-goosey, like real conspiratorial Aquarians that are like trying to push the edges of what's acceptable. And I think both of those kind of play into it, because Q was such an interesting psychological operation. I saw it work on a lot of people. So it's like one of those things that I can't deny that it was effective. And a lot of it was coming out of like the Chans, but it was being read primarily by boomers and like maybe late X people. Those are the people that were most involved with Q, that were taking it more as gospel. I think the younger generations, because they're more used to psyops or were raised with the internet.
Savvy.
Yeah, more tech savvy. Were able to kind of catch on to it a lot easier and kind of take it with a grain of salt, see if it was worth anything. And even as a person that took it with a grain of salt, I thought there were some interesting things that it brought forward, and it did expand consciousness on some level, but it was definitely in specific limits. And it was to keep people from taking direct action. And I think that's a part of it that you got to think about too. They didn't want people going wild in the street or going into the pizza shop basements and, looking for, child molesters or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's good. I mean,
yeah.
There was one that did that, but probably that one did seem kind of sketchy. If you really look into the Comet Pizza stuff, it was kind of sketchy. And James Alefantis was not a good person and had a lot of weird things on his Instagram. I mean, there is something to those things, but I think people need to learn to take any kind of information like that with a grain of salt. Kind of do the old Stalin thing and trust but verify as far as it goes.
No, you're right. And it's that combo of Saturn and Uranus where it's like control through, extra knowledge kind of thing. It's like, or like control with the Saturn side of it mixed with the Uranus side of it, which is like, oh, but we can give you these, these little things that will push past the boundaries at the same time, but it's still about that control. Yeah,
Go down
exactly.
the rabbit holes with us.
Yeah.
Very structured
Control
rabbit
Uranus.
holes we've created for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Control Uranus, boys.
Ooh.
I do all the time. I very rarely ship myself. It's been only a couple times since I've
I'm like Biden.
Left the diapers.
Well, I probably will when I get old. I'm not saying that I'm going to keep this streak going forever, but I'm saying like it's
I have the best
so
sphincter ever. It only works exactly when I want it to. It'll always hold up forever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, did you watch the Kill Tony, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that was
wasn't that good?
Yeah.
It was so good. Yeah. They did a great job. Fucking Shane Gillis and Adam Ray. Fuck yeah.
That show was so funny that it was just like, I'm like, okay, I think I need to watch a show on a regular basis now. Like
that was the best episode. So you kind of got spoiled, but yeah, it's a good show.
Well, I did watch the one with Tucker Carlson
garbage,
was on there.
And that's why it was kind of funny because almost everybody came up and bombed. But I've seen Kill Tony's where the comedian, like the people that they pulled out of the hat, were generally better.
Yeah.
Everybody that was pulled out of that. I mean, there was a couple that were maybe kind of funny, but almost everybody was like real bad.
Oh yeah.
Like the Mexican dude that just like, oh my god. Jesus.
And then Trump stood up and clapped. That was or Trump. Yeah,
he's like, yes, and he's shaking his hand afterwards. Yeah. So funny.
It was hilarious.
Good.
Oh yeah.
I love how like he just leaned into like the left's like impression of him most of the time.
Yes. It was good. Like, I mean,
and then the one time he's just like, oh, Joe Biden doesn't know what he's talking about. Everybody in Chicago loves me. Everybody in Illinois loves me. He's like, I don't have a joke. I just got stuck in character.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it was so good. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that show's really good. But yeah, no, that's fucking awesome. Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But,
no, that was some of the best presidential impression comedy I've ever seen.
Yeah. For 2 hours. Yeah.
Well, but it was also good because they had them both there, so it was just kind of like it wasn't one-sided in that way, and it's like, and they were like, hey, if it makes people laugh, I don't care what the fuck. Like that was just, and then the guitarist there, I loved there who was like, hey, and the guitarist who never speaks just said, everybody's been bombing for the last 3 minutes.
That was good.
That was great. Yeah. Oh yeah. But
so since this is obviously the conspiracy episode, is there any other conspiracies that we want to talk about besides Q?
Well, I mean, Nick and I had a conspiracy about things we wanted to talk about, but just joking.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, go ahead.
It's also known as
I mean, I'm big on I think the whole Project Bluebeam. You brought up aliens earlier. I think Project Bluebeam is a legit conspiracy theory. I mean, they tried to pull that one for a while. I don't think it's in the news anymore, the whole alien thing, but that one's interesting to me.
But Bluebeam, as far as I understand, is corresponding with holographic projections into space, into empty space.
But it's tricking people to thinking that aliens are attacking us so that we unite.
Well,
one world government. Got to fight the aliens.
But it's just a false flag attempt is what it is. And essentially, and I mean, and that's the crazy thing is that like it seems like this whole Trump thing seems like it's a false flag too. And it seems like they were trying to it seems like they were trying to set it up that I mean, there's now pretty clear evidence that there was multiple guns fired
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh,
which
I saw that.
indicates
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
multiple
There was
shooters.
2 guns. Yeah.
Well, and the weird thing is like it sounds like the cop who went up, because he climbed the ladder and he didn't have his weapon out or anything, and he poked his head up, and then apparently the shooter saw him and turned his weapon, and then he dropped back down and fell off the ladder. Um, um, but apparently that is what people are assuming changed the timeline so that that shooter made it and then the second shooter wasn't prepared, and so that's why the second shots didn't land, because the second shooter, because I'm assuming that they didn't have comms. If it was a false flag and coordinated, you wouldn't leave comms on a dead body, you know.
No.
Yep.
And then they found
Um.
explosives in the car that was supposedly his. Um, but it and anyway, they were. It seems like that they wanted to essentially, and that would JD Vance was not the nominee yet, and some people are saying that they wanted to get essentially Nikki Haley in there and then go to a war with Iran because they had all those reports of Iran. And I mean, that's what it seems like, you know, and a
Yeah.
lot of people have reached that conclusion, which
Well,
is crazy, but at the same time,
it's not.
no, I
It's
mean, it's wild, but it's also like to people who aren't aware of how like malevolent people can be and the bad sides of human nature and power, you don't understand that, like, yeah, like these are standard things that humans have been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of
yeah.
years,
It's control.
unfortunately speaking. And it's like if you don't temper yourself against the negative parts of the human nature, they're going to take over you, and that's what you see. And like that's that's the biggest issue with the left right now. They 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 use this moral high ground to essentially absolve themselves of all of their faults, and then they accept themselves for everything to the point where it's just like, but they just ignore their blind spots because they don't think that they're a bad person, you know. And
Well,
don't get me wrong, that's just a normal human behavior. It's just very popular on the left right now.
yeah. No. I mean, going into I mean, there definitely was 2 shooters. I mean, audio analysis has been done, and there's definitely 2 guns that were shot. I mean, you could from different locations because you can tell based on the bullet sound, and then there's like the I forget the words, but it's like you get the because the bullet goes at supersonic speeds, it passes by the microphone, and then you get the sound of the gun crack.
The report.
The
Yeah,
I
report,
think
yeah,
is what it's
exactly,
called. Yeah.
exactly. And there was 2 separate ones. There was the specific one from the top of the roof, which was that one guy, which that's another conspiracy theory is if it was people think that it was someone else. I don't really get into that because like you could see his face. Like I unfortunately looked at the death photo of him, and it did look like him. But then there's the idea there were 2 shooters. There was one that was farther away, and basically, yeah, what you were saying, Troy, is like he might have started shooting early, and then the other guy was like, well, fuck, I got to do it too, and so he was kind of like trying to like catch up to it. That's why the shots were kind of wild. But yeah, I mean, like there is for you could do friends. I mean, not me, obviously, but there's people. That guy. There's a YouTube channel, Peak Prosperity. He breaks
Yeah.
down
I met him,
the.
Chris Martinson. Yeah.
You
I
did?
met him. I met him at Pork Fest. He was at like the Libertarian festival that I went to this summer. He's
That's
cool as hell.
wild. That's
Yeah, I just went up to him and I was like, "Thank you so much for Peak Prosperity. You were really good during COVID. I think it helped
holy
a lot of
shit.
people." And he was just kind of beaming. He felt good
Yeah.
about it. So
Fuck
yeah, I
yeah.
just wanted to give him his props.
No. That's awesome. But yeah, like there's but I just watched a video where he does like there's audio analysis of like you can break it down very like if you do like look at the waveforms. Anyways, it's above my pay grade, but
Well,
other
but
people
it's
have that
just
shit.
like, but even for a layman, you can just hear it. It's
Yeah.
like I mean, it's like, oh, well, I mean, I guess I'm a musician, so I have a little bit better of an ear than some people, but like it's clearly like, oh no, one has an echo, one doesn't, one has a different fire rate, one like and like it's just like you can hear like clear distinctions in them, you know. And so
Yeah.
there's at least 2 shooters, you know, from
Yeah.
what I can hear. And you
Well,
know, but whatever.
the
What I thought
FBI.
was
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead. No, go
What
ahead.
I thought was really cool was how calm the crowd stayed.
Oh yeah.
In a lot of cases like that, you'd see like a big stampede.
Yeah.
People would have just been hurt from that. But people stayed like crazily calm during it. Um, and obviously they were very upset, but they stayed like pretty together and with it, even
Oh
amongst
yeah.
shots ringing out. You know, somebody died, so
Which
that's pretty heavy.
which
Yeah.
which is just like for people who are not ideologically bent, they see someone taking a just missing death, taking a graze like that, and coming up a second later, to be like, hey, we're gonna stand with this in defiance of the people who just shot you.
Yeah.
you know it that spoke to a lot of people. And then again, what you were saying, the crowd not moving is also a like it's an indication of the level of like consciousness that was in that crowd,
Yeah.
because they were brave. They were
Yeah.
and bravery comes from love, you know
Love of
because
Trump or what? Love of
well,
explain
I
that,
mean,
please.
well, it's gonna be love of country, but also love of Trump. I mean,
Okay.
people. Well, let's just be honest. The people who are gonna push the closest up to it are probably gonna be the ones who love him the most. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
It's like, um, uh, but
I think
yeah,
that's unfair. They all love me. I can't do a Trump voice, but
No, I know. That's
they all love me the same. I don't know how to do it. Is that?
yeah. It's the pointy fingers, yeah.
all of them love me.
You gotta do
Yeah,
the
you
breathe
do a good
breathe
one.
through your teeth, yeah.
All
He
of them
does that.
love me.
Yeah.
They all think I'm great.
I am the best.
Yeah.
I have a. They all love
Uh
me. I the in yeah. Anyway,
oh no. I mean, nobody can beat Shane Gillis at that, but no, exactly.
No,
That was pretty good,
it's pretty
Troy.
good.
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, but
Troy's is
he also
good.
has the
Yeah.
he's also a bit more Trump built, than I am.
Yeah. He looks, yeah, exactly. He literally looked like him. But anyways, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he looked a lot like him.
Yeah. But
Uh,
no, I do agree with you. It was wild that, yeah, literally shots were going off, someone died, the president got shot, or the excuse me, the future president got shot,
Nice.
ex-president oops.
Felon 47.
Seems likely.
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, come on at this point. But whatever. Trump got shot. Everyone was like, and you're right, like there wasn't a stampede, there wasn't like all that stuff where it's like any normal situation like that, people would just scatter. And like, you know, there is something to that. I mean, I'm not trying to like be like, oh, his crowd is so great, but like there is something to that. Like, I mean, it was brave to just stick around and just stand there. Like, if you're watching in the background, people stood up even stronger because they were like trying to look to see if Trump was okay. Which,
Yeah.
like, if I was seeing gunshots, I wouldn't like stand up and make myself a bigger target. So I'm like,
I
holy
saw
shit.
that
Yeah.
picture. That video was cool. You should find that and post it in the video,
Okay, I will.
like
Yeah.
so that people can see that one guy that's like,
Yeah.
like, "Ooh." So good.
No, exactly. Exactly.
And that's like some people were like looking at this and being like the one woman behind him be like, oh, she clearly knew. And I'm like, that woman, like, no, it's like first of all, you don't understand people, and someone to be that close to Trump and such like that. As soon as stuff like that happened, she was up front because she wanted to be where everything was happening. And then so stuff started happening, she immediately pulled out her phone because that's how she's programmed. Because and it's like you could see it on her face, and it's like, but I did see, like I did see a video of one of the Secret Service people, like being like, hey, and he's like ducking, like he could stand like this, but he's like crouching like this, and he's like, hey, and he moves somebody off literally seconds before the first shots fire.
Wait. Oh,
It's interesting.
okay.
Yeah, I just saw
didn't
that video like a little bit ago, and it was just like, that's, I mean, I don't know, maybe he hurt his neck and something like that, but like it was still weird. It was still hella weird.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm gonna. I really think it was the FBI was involved. I mean, they do. You know, Mike knows about how the 6 week cycle that Agenda
For
talks
sure.
about, but it's a real thing. I mean, 6 weeks is obviously an exaggeration, but there is this idea of the FBI, like, will manipulate people, like whether online or whatever, to I mean, basically do these things, and they don't necessarily want. I mean, in Trump's case, I think they, someone wanted him dead. I mean, for obvious reasons, and we don't need to go into that because it's pretty obvious.
Didn't you guys say it was Al Gore? It was Al
Yeah,
Gore, right?
exactly. It was Al Gore. Yeah, exactly. He's still relevant. And but
I
there
think it
is
was
that.
BlackRock.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, people were called off. There was like a whole, I mean, it could have been just, one person saying like, all right, everything's fine. Like, don't worry about it. And then the other agents were just like, well, we're following orders. But like, there is, I mean, talk about conspiracy theories, like that is a legitimate thing. Like there is something it was too messy to just be incompetence, in the sense that like it was messy in the sense that like things were not handled properly, at least with like the way that they did security and stuff. And like, people half an hour before were pointing out the guy on the roof and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could see it as like he was the fucking patsy, and then there was another guy farther away who was supposed to be like the real fucking assassin, and basically then you could blame it on the patsy, and then there was a real assassin, but that guy missed as well. So who knows? But like, there was clearly two gunmen. There, the whole story around the guy, the Matthew Thomas Michael, what is it, Thomas Matthew Crook or whatever the fuck his name
Yeah.
is,
Matthew Thomas Crooks, maybe that might be
something
it.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The three name thing. But yeah, there, at the very least, it was just an attempted assassination, and like, and they basically, for many reasons, wanted to get rid of Trump, obviously, just because, I mean, the classic story is, all the court trials failed, the election's coming up pretty soon, this is like a last ditch effort, and then they might try again. I mean, who knows? Like, that's the other conspiracy theories, there might be other attempts.
Did
But
you see the name they gave the gunman on Twitter?
no.
Yeah.
Tardy Oswald. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I saw that.
Holy shit. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's lowbrow, but it's pretty funny.
it's pretty good. Retardy on the head, like, yeah, Lee Harvey, that's perfect. No, that's good. And then, I mean, the biggest dumb conspiracy theory is the idea that like Trump faked it. It was a blood packet in his ear. The bullets were all fake.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like, I mean, just
that
Jesus
is like
Christ.
some of the biggest and it's like, okay, you're gonna go question this and that aspect of it, and you're not gonna go question all of the other lies you've been told about in the media for the last like your life, and
Yeah.
this is the one you're questioning with this level of absurdity. Well, it's like,
Yes.
okay, but here's the thing is that like for someone in like a position of power of a deep state or a BlackRock or whatever it was, like it doesn't take a lot of people to know what's going on in order to have an assassination attempt happen,
Yeah.
and to do a coup thing. Like people are going to know, but it's like, but the amount of people that would have to know on site to be able to do that with Trump's thing, like everybody would have to be on Trump's team and such like that, which is like Trump doesn't have CIA agencies and all of these like he doesn't have like that level of coordination and infrastructure to invest in these things, where it's just like CIA, like they have, that's like what they're built to do.
Mm-hmm. FBI, CIA, I mean, take your pick. Yes. And who's in charge of those agencies? I mean, well, in
Al
charge.
Gore, right? Isn't, I think it's Al Gore.
Yeah, no, the president. Yeah, exactly.
Al Gore rhythm.
Al
Yes.
Gore's the real president. He's been president the whole time, guys.
This is like the ultimate
super cute.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
super
exactly.
cute. I love
Super cute. Oh
No,
shit.
no. This is
Al Gore is actually your emperor. He's the God Emperor, and we just didn't know.
He has been
It's
since
great.
Well, see, this
2000.
guy was around before Q, so he's known as P.
So what? So R is next. Yeah, we got R and on.
joke.
Yeah, woo. But no,
I know my ABCs.
I do
yeah.
know who lost in this whole situation, though, and it was
Yeah.
the female Secret Service agents. They did not look great. The kind of fat one that was trying to cover him, that was shorter than him at
Oh.
the door, when that couldn't holster her weapon, and
So that
I think
one,
people were calling her Militia McCarthy. I think that was
Yeah.
what I was hearing.
that was a funny one.
That
But
was.
apparently that woman, she was not on the detail. She wasn't so when she came around and was saying, "What are we doing?" She was someone who was not on the detail coming up to support, who was unqualified. So as much as she was unqualified for her job, she showed bravery in that situation. And as much as I think the memes are still funny, I think she does deserve that little bit of credit.
Okay.
If she's not
that
authorized to do it, why would she be that close to the president, though? Because that seems a little bit sketchy in and of itself, right?
so
You should have
so
authority to be able to do that.
So basically,
Yeah.
Trump's detail was on vacation, and because they'd apparently been a long overdue vacation, and then a last minute thing from Jill Biden,
Oh,
in
the
the
first
area.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, got the primary Secret Service agents out of that area in the local office out protecting her. So basically, so almost everybody who was in charge of taking care of Trump that day were almost all contractors who were not actually Secret Service.
What? That's sketchy just
Yeah.
in and of itself, you know?
No, I'm
Yeah.
like
How convenient.
Like super sketchy.
Yeah.
no, the amount of details of sketch is just keeps coming out. It's like it's ridiculous. And it's like it's so easy to hide insidiousness inside or behind incompetence.
It's true.
What?
That's
What? What? Was I driving
which
over the speed officer?
no,
I didn't
and you're right.
notice.
You're right, because that's the
My
story that they
bad.
came up with like right away. Is they said, oh, it was just like they didn't want to admit incompetence, but that was like the narrative immediately was just like, oh, it's just incompetence, it's just incompetence, distract away from any kind of more nefarious plot. So yeah, exactly. And yeah, I my thing now is going forward, like speaking of Aquarius, Trump needs someone to like taste all of his food and make sure it's not poisonous. He needs to like make sure he gets a good security team around him because it's not
You
gonna,
should
I
send him
mean,
an email and ask if you can do that for him.
yeah, taste I
I
want
am the best
Aquarius.
Aquarius. I
Yeah,
am so Aquarius. I will taste
yeah,
all your food. I am
yes.
the best food taster.
All your McDonald's. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You just get
Hey,
food poisoning accidentally one day.
Yeah.
Oh no!
So apparently JD
How are you
Vance is
still
starting
living
to
on this
talk.
diet? I don't understand.
So I do like that JD Vance is apparently starting to advocate for farmers, and because I've been a farmer for a long time, so I'm interested to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Because right now basically you have big ag and trying to take over from small independent farmers and such like that, and making it harder. And it's the same thing as like with a lot of regulations that they like big business and not small business, because uh it's like because big business likes to have, oh yeah, you know what, increase my base level tax rate, that'd be great, and then you can cap off the top end, and that sounds good, and they're like, oh well, we're doing this for small businesses, but then it just makes it so that like you're just getting started as a business, and then you have thousands of dollars in taxes a year, as like when you aren't, with a lot of small businesses, you aren't even making money in the first few years,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
or at least all your money's going investing back into it, so you're not getting any profit, or and that's how a lot of people get started. And because it's anyway, it's we just gotta
Well,
stick up for ourselves and
yeah.
coordinate with each other.
Well,
And
yeah, not rely just on politicians alone. Yeah, to think that they can save us.
well,
Yeah.
that's the exact same shit with the Q thing. Is it's like it's being like, you sit back there. I'm going to solve all your problems. You sit there and do nothing. I mean, at least the base thing that politicians say is that they at least say vote for me and donate to me. So they do have a call to action, you know,
Yes.
where it's just like, yeah. But for the most part is that, well, it's the same thing that people criticize with activists. And if you got sold on solving the problem, and that's why people want you there, when the problem gets solved, do they still want you there? And so a lot of people, like, that's how they got their rallying cry, and so they get stuck just in problem mode, you know. And like YouTubers will have that issue too, or whatever, where you get audience capture, and then they kind of put, and then the way that they've positioned themselves is not on principles but ideological, so then they paint themselves in a corner, you know. But if you base yourself on principles, and you can always be, oh, I've learned I need to change this and whatever. And if you based yourself and your audience on that way, most of your audience is gonna know and pivot with you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you
I
ever
mean, it's like
accidentally painted yourself into a literal corner? Like anybody? Have you ever done
yeah. Yeah.
it? Where you're just,
Almost.
yeah. I mean,
No,
it's terrible.
I was literally painting the floor as a kid, and I was like, oh, I almost did that.
So you gotta go. You have to start at the corner and work your way towards the door. That's the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to make sure you got an exit strategy.
Oh,
Well, the
that's
thing
funny.
is I was doing all the edges, and I was just going tick, 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 and I almost got
Tick,
back
tick,
around the
tick.
door, and I'm like, I gotta leave myself a path.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
You were
Tick, tick.
edging, and it was like dick, 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 dick. Is that what you said?
Tick, 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 tick,
That
tick,
is
tick,
how I
tick.
do my edging.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Oh.
you know, just kind of like this. Tick, 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 tick.
You talk to yourself. You talk to it like, come on, dick, 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 dick. You
Come
can
on,
do it,
dick,
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 dick.
dick.
Yeah.
Well, I get down as close as I can, and then I'm just like, hey, how you doing, buddy? How you doing?
Oh.
You doing
And
good?
with that,
Yeah.
it's
You
been a
doing
great
good?
episode, guys.
Tick, 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 tick. It has. Absolutely. Well, less astrology, more talk of current events, but that's necessary because holy shit, what a week it's been. So yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
glad Mars has moved out of Taurus because
Yes.
I feel like even with the CrowdStrike thing, which we didn't talk about, but just even that happened at Mars at 29 degrees of Taurus. So it's just nice that Mars is now out of Taurus, moving away from Uranus and Algol and yeah,
So,
Al Gore.
Blackstone and BlackRock are the two biggest holders in Strike or CrowdStrike as well. And
Yeah.
so, and then Shooter McGavin, he was also in a in that in that BlackRock advertisement video from several years ago.
Oh, Shooter McGavin. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
that's nice.
that's a weird ass coincidence. I mean, I'm not going to put too much on that because it's not like, I mean, he probably just was at the school, but it is random. I mean,
Oh,
They own the building that the guy shot from. BlackRock did,
oh shit.
from what I've heard. I mean, so
Well,
there's a lot of things with BlackRock.
but they have ownership in
Interesting.
a
They
lot
own
of stuff.
everything, though, so maybe it's not a big deal, I guess.
Well, no, it's a lot of circumstantial evidence. None of it actually means anything by itself. But the thing is, it's all moving in one direction, though. You know, it's like, you know, you obviously have to have epistemological humility here and be like, hey, this is what I think happened. But at the same time, I'm waiting until we have like clear evidence. And I think with the way that things have been going, within the next year or two, we're going to have clear evidence of what happened, just because things are leaking a lot quicker now.
Especially here. No, I'm just kidding. But what I do need to say, BlackRock has a motive. And I'll tell you the motive that BlackRock has.
Yeah.
So BlackRock has gotten most all the contracts for rebuilding Ukraine after the war is over.
Mm-hmm.
The Trump administration seems to be more likely to just kind of let Russia have a certain amount of gains, and that's it. You know, that's the war will be called over. There'll be a ceasefire. Nobody really wins. Well, Ukraine loses territory, but the war will be over. But that means if Russia still has that territory, BlackRock does not get to rebuild it. So that's millions and millions and millions and billions of dollars.
Billions.
Billions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a motive, is all I'm saying. That's
definitely.
that's BlackRock's motive. Please do not kill me, BlackRock. I was just kidding.
We
I'll be
love
in your commercial.
coffee. We love your coffee.
I'll be in your commercial.
Yeah.
Not
What?
me. I actually hate all coffee. I hate all.
What's their coffee? They have their own coffee?
Oh,
You
no,
think
there's
of Black Rifle.
Yeah.
there's a Black Rifle and there's a Black Rock coffee company as well.
Oh,
Huh.
okay. But
Yeah.
but Mike's correct though. To get back to being serious, you're right. It's billions of dollars. Like that's a huge. I mean, that's the whole thing we do in America. Well, American corporations is we destroy countries. We send our missiles there. We can then the military industrial complex can make new missiles, and they get a whole bunch of taxpayer money to create new shit. And then at the same time, then once the war's over, these big corporations go in and rebuild. And it's just like this never. I mean, look at the Middle East. That was the whole thing with the Middle East, which didn't work out well. But
Halliburton and Halliburton at that time.
yeah,
Well, that's all post World War II foreign policy, which is basically fits into the liberal economic order that was more or less formed at that point, which is like is essentially made the American empire as we have it now. So we have a military all around the world essentially, and also our money's all the way around the world to enforce. I mean, because if you know stories of an economic hitman. It's that same shit. It's it's simple and basic, but they'd come in and they'd be like, hey, you're going to use our currency. And the thing is that money has no value in and of itself except for the belief we put in it and what it's traded against. So it's just it's a representation of everything that's being circulated in an economy. So every time you print money, the value of that money is leveraged off of all of the other money in circulation of what it represents to its product or good. So it's just the reason why we've been the petrodollar forever is because we've required everything, all of petroleum, to be used, or majority of it to be sold with the dollar. So when that happens, that means that the value of petroleum essentially gives the dollar its value. And because they can print money at any time, they can just extract money from all of the goods and services through inflation. So they just print money, and then the value of that comes from everything that's already existing. So it literally comes out of everybody's assets and goods that are already existing. And so the whole way that our economic system has been working is we force everybody to use our currency, and therefore all of the goods and services in their country are leveraged against our dollar. So then all we have to do is regulate our economy to essentially economically control every country who's using our dollar.
Oh yeah.
True.
And maybe that's going to change. Maybe this is it's the end of it. We'll see.
I mean, it seems like the petrodollar is being challenged pretty strongly by the BRICS. And it seems like more and more countries are starting to trade with their own currencies. So I think the petrodollar dominance is ending, I'd say, unless we do something to maintain empire that I don't think we're willing or necessarily even able to do.
I think that's why they want to war in Iran. Because they want it, because they want the Middle East unstable for several reasons. Part of it's theological bullshit stuff that they want to make the apocalypse come by certain groups of people, stupid idiots. And then you have other people that just want to do it because it's just simple control over that. And that's like they don't want to produce oil here and they want to produce it over there so that they can control it over there, because they don't care about America being able to stand on its own. They want all of the countries to be interdependent on each other so that the globalists who don't actually care about people at all, or, you know, or boundaries for that matter, can just do what they want wherever they want and just pick and choose. And that's like or one of the classic narcissistic personality types, is that, you know, people are just like, that reality is just a buffet to them and they just take whatever they want whenever they want, and you know, and then they throw a fit when they can't.
The fit part's true. Yeah.
Astro Bros, I am quickly flagging. I have got one last thing to say, and then I'll shut up. But I'm going to be probably done after that. But my first joke about after the assassination attempt was that they should have gotten Boeing's guys, and I think it was underrated. So, just saying, BlackRock. Maybe if you need help, you can talk to your friends in Boeing.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
not some 20-year-old shithead. Yeah, exactly. That's yeah. No, it's true. Well, boys, this was a great episode. Yeah, great episode. And honestly, minimal editing is gonna have to happen. This was great. Like, I literally don't. I mean, I'll do front and end, but like, fuck it. There's not much that I have to cut out. So I like this.
For sure.
We're getting on a roll. We're getting into a place where we can actually do live, I think, at some point. So this is nice.
I mean, oh yeah. I mean, and to be honest, is live's a little bit different, and it's good to have these ones to like practice a bit. But
But
yeah.
I'm just saying the progression has gotten a lot better. I mean, you know, I don't have to. I mean, unless tell me if there's anything you said that you want me to edit out. But I think at this point, I maybe at the beginning I'll check to make sure there's nothing in there. But the main majority of the conversation we can just flow through. So
well,
and
but
no
also
issues.
it's like
And with
Vote
that,
blue no
thank
matter.
you, boys.
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Sweet.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Peace, brother. We'll see you next
You have
time.
a good one.
You
Eat
too.
all those donuts for us.
I don't have any donuts, but I'll try to find some.